Right now, school is back in session for millions of college students. There are classes, social activities, the freedom of being away from home, and this disturbing probability. 1 in 4 young women will be the victim of rape or attempted rape before they graduate from college. 1 in 4. That's according to a Department of Justice study. This information young women need to know. These are things they will not learn in the classroom, and parents need to pay attention as well. And here's some other disturbing statistics from the study looking into the brutal reality of rape on campus. 90% of victims know their attackers. That's because it's usually a classmate, a friend, a boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, perhaps an acquaintance. 45% of this happens on campus. And here's the most shocking and sad part of the report. Less than 5% of the victims report the rapes or attempted rapes to police. If they tell anyone, it's usually just a friend, not a school official, not a relative. Here's one way women are getting the word out about the crime. Look at this.
I was raped last year, my freshman year of college, when I was 19 years old.
You know, guys have a hard time resisting something like that.
It's easy to point fingers at me, but I said no over and over, and he knew how I felt about it. He knew I didn't want to, and he did it anyway.
If someone was drinking, if someone was wearing a short skirt, if someone went back to someone's apartment and then changed their
One of the
mind.
victims in that documentary talked about the night of her attack.
It's not their fault, but it is their fault.
Alcohol was involved. I wasn't nearly as drunk as he was, from what I remember and what I can recall. But yeah, it was definitely one of those situations that I trusted him, and I didn't think it would lead to what it actually led to. But he was very drunk and much more forceful than I had ever experienced around anyone in my life. So when it came down to it, I thought it was kind of just like a friendly encounter, and then he got very forceful and it went bad very quickly.
Here to talk about this very important issue is Steve Kardian, the well-known law enforcement expert on crime prevention, campus and women's safety and self-defense, is joining us by Skype. Steve, thanks for joining us. You know, when I put this on my Facebook page and I told people I was going to talk about this, and I talked about that number 1 in 4, I got some pushback because some people just don't believe the number. They're skeptical about it. They have a hard time processing it. Talk about why the number is very real and very credible to you.
Well, Rochelle, let's take a look at the big picture. We see that women between the age of 12 and 34 are that likely age. Then we break it down. 16 to 20 years of age are 4 times more likely, and then we put it under the microscope. And we see that a young lady entering her freshman year of college between September and Thanksgiving recess is at the most vulnerable time in her life. And believe the stats. We don't want to, but believe the stats. They're very accurate. They're very real. And if anything, they're even worse than what the DOJ is reporting.
We talked about 5%. Less than 5% actually report this to someone official. Why so underreported, Steve?
Well, I work for Campus Speak. I lecture across the country at college and university all the time. We see that there's a variety of aspects. The girls today are chalking it up to, it was my mistake, I'm embarrassed, I don't want to be the center of attention, I'm going to get somebody suspended from school. So they try and justify it in their own means. And that 95% that don't report it, that's a very real statistic.
And I think because 95% don't report it, that's why this 1 in 4 number is so shocking to people as well. You talked about this just a little bit ago, the time when young women, when it's so vulnerable. The study says the first few weeks of freshman and sophomore years is when the time when it's most vulnerable for young women. Why is that?
Well, look at the dynamic we're dealing with. They are a little bit too young, they are a little bit too trusting, and they have not yet developed the tools to deal with the predator. So somebody in place with a junior, a senior, they've got 3, 4 years possibly over the victim that they're dealing with. That's eons of experience in that young life.
Okay, so if a young woman becomes a victim, who do they need to tell? It's great to tell a friend, but who do they really need to tell, Steve?
Yeah, they need to get to someone in authority. Then there's certain things. They can't wash up. They can't take a shower. They can't change their clothes. They need to get to someone in authority, preferably the police or like RAIN, RAINN.org has an online has an online and phone reporting system. They're great. It's a woman's choice. Sexual assault is not a mandatory reported crime. However, organizations like RAIN.org and law enforcement can help you dramatically. They're going to take you to the hospital, get you the treatment you need, and they're going to deal with the criminal aspect early. After that. You're the most important. The student is the most important. We want to make sure that they're okay.
And I don't want to downplay the importance of the police departments on campuses, but I want to be really blunt here. I want to be very clear to young women. Should they tell the police department on their local campus, or should they go outside of their local campus and contact that police department? I want to be really clear on where I'm telling them to go.
It depends upon where the crime was perpetrated. If it was perpetrated on campus and they have sworn police officers that are working on that campus, I would suggest that. If it's off campus, report to the local authorities, the local police department within the jurisdiction that incident happened. Dial 911 on your cell phone. They will direct you to the proper authorities to report this crime.
That's right, Steve. When in doubt, just dial 911. Steve Kardian, thank you so much. Appreciate it.